Welcome back, guys. It is a championship racing once again here at SARCO. It is round number 2 of our BMW 320 Touring Car Championship, proudly brought to you by Thrustmaster and Mettlestate. We head to Willow Springs for 2 heats of 20-minute races. So sit back and enjoy the highlights of both heats 1 and 2. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the first heat. In 15th place is Hamid for the Cape Town boys. Jason the Privateer, he's in 14th, with Ronaldo for Shake and Bake, he's in 13th. 12th place is Simstuff's Racing's Toki, and he's behind a Project Cat driver Ross in 11th. Dupi for TTR, he's in 10th, behind the second of the Project Cat Racing, that is Jacques in 10th, and he is behind the Tosco 2 driver Gerard in 8th place. In 7th is Skoeflich for Simstuff Racing, he's in 7th, and he's behind the Black Mamba in 6th place, that is Dylan. 5th place is the Silverback driver Marius, he's in 5th, and he's behind the Lone Racers driver, that is Craig, in 4th place. Bruno, he puts himself a 3rd on the grid for Silverback Racing, and Jakes, the second of the Black Mamba driver, he's in 2nd, with Scholl for Tosca 1 taking pole position. As the field heads into turn number 2, Scholl leads with Marius in 2nd, Bruno 3rd, Jakes in 4th place. That is Dylan in 5th, but on the inside he has a Project Cat driver, that is Jacques Vermeulen. He's now going through. Right behind him is Gerard for the Tosco 2 team. Well, Jacques gone a little bit deep. Craig's moved to the inside of Gerard. All contact between Gerard and Craig. Oh, there's one of the Simstuff Racing drivers been hit. Unfortunately, not enough space for those cars to get around that corner. It seems like Bruno dropped down 1 place into turn number 3. That's allowed Jakes to move up into 3rd place. Scholl still leads Marius 2nd. Jakes is 3rd. Bruno, Dylan, and Craig, followed by Gerard. We pick up the action here for the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th drivers. Just about side by side into the last corner. That is Dylan, Craig, Gerard, and Ross. Gerard getting a great run on Craig, coming around the outside to begin a lap number 2. Is a little bit wide, preparing for a turn 1, side by side. Well, Gerard's gone very wide. That's unfortunately, he's going to go off the track. He'll slot back in behind Ross. We'll jump in the cockpit with Ross as he heads into turn number 3. Craig really putting a lot of pressure on the back of Dylan as they head down the hill to go into turn number 5. That is Gerard and Skoeflich right behind Ross. We've seen the distance there. Scholl starting to pull away a little bit of gap, and it looks like Jakes, he's moved up into 2nd place. Through turn 8 now for this tricky turn number 9. And here the guys just changing down a gear, hitting that inside apex, putting that power back on, and coming straight back down the main start finish straight. Well, there's Gerard having a run on Craig. Great shots. Unfortunately, that was Ross. Sorry, we're on board with Ross and not Craig. Ross nearly running a little bit wide, but now this is Skoeflich trying to go around the outside. That's the Simstuff racer, Skoeflich, trying to go around the outside. Had to just pull out of that move. Jump to the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. Jakes is currently following Scholl, who's in 1st position. Jakes for the Black Mambas has got the 2 Silverback drivers very much on his tail. A look on the inside. Well, they're side by side. Well, that was extremely close. I'm not sure how those two drivers did not touch. Across the line they go to begin a lap number 4 of this 20-minute race. We'll take a look at the current positions. Well, Bruno got a great run on Jakes, and Bruno now moves up into second place through turn number 2. So Charles leads with Bruno's in second, Jakes is third, Morris is fourth, Dylan fifth, Craig right behind him in sixth. Then we have Gerard in seventh, that's Torquay in eighth, Ross down to ninth, Scoa Flick is in 10th place with Dupe 11th, Ronaldo 12th, Jason in 13th place with Jacques Racing in 14th, and Hamid down in 15th position. Just want to jump back. This is the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th place, and the action really is heating up. Dylan is leading this battle ahead of Craig, and Gerard, well, Craig's gone very sideways, takes a little that looked like it was Torquay having a little slide there. But he seems to have recovered without hitting anybody. Craig's now fallen behind Gerard. Gerard having made that move through turn number 5, but now Craig comes back on the inside, side by side into turn number 9, but Craig realizes just not close enough, so he retreats on that attack. He'll tuck in behind Gerard as they go into turn number 1. Back to the battle in the front, and Bruno still fending off the Black Mamba attack from Jakes. His partner Bruno right behind him. Down into turn 5. Well, Morris is a little bit wide, but manages to hang on there. And Charles starting to open a gap while these three are battling with each other. Charles just putting in the good times, and he's able to without having to defend his line and watch the other drivers around him. Jake's taking a little bit of a wider line coming through turn 9. Will he be able to get a toe on Bruno? Just not close enough. They are single file through turn number 1. Just jumping a little bit further back, and Gerard's got a great drive coming out of the last corner against Dylan. Gerard moves to the inside. Dylan leaves enough space for him. A little flick of the lights just to show his appreciation for a great move to Gerard. So Gerard, he now goes up into 5th place. Dylan down into 6th. Hard in the braking zone into turn number 3, then back up the hill. Craig still very much in this fight. Down into turn 5, then back over this crest. The car seems to want to just slide away from you as you go over that little hill. Through turn number 8, flat out, then a little tap for the brakes, turn in, straight back on the power into turn 9. See Dylan having a little slide, but he's right up behind Gerard. That's going to give him a great slipstream coming down the main start finish line. He moves himself into the inside. We'll have a look. So Dylan returns the move on Gerard that he made a lap earlier. But Gerard is not done yet. He's now on the inside for turn number 2. They go side by side through turn 2, and Craig's now following Gerard. Dylan running off just a little wide, but he's won the battle. Coming into turn 3. Little touch between Gerard and Craig, but no harm done. back down the hill. A touch of the brakes into turn 5. Oh, Craig's got it very sideways. Oh, that's Craig spun. He's unfortunately missing out on this battle. See Craig in the background there. Dylan now just being able to open up a little gap ahead of Gerard. This is Torquay, the team captain for the Sim Stuff Racing. Torquay currently in 7th place with his teammate Skoa Flick behind him, also known as Theo. Torquay really having a great drive here. We jump back to the leaders. Charles, he still leads in the Union Jack colours. Bruno, he's still in 2nd place with Jakes in 3rd. And Marius, he's in 4th place. We can see that this leading pack is starting to close up on some back markers. Lap number 8, and Gerard is still mounting his attack on Dylan, going to turn number 3. Well, Dylan's got a little bit sideways. He's lost some momentum coming up the hill, and Gerard moves around him, around the outside, into turn number 4. So Gerard, he will now move up a position. He now moves himself into 5th. We jump back to the leading pack. And in front there you can see Charles, he still leads with Bruno in 2nd, Jakes is 3rd. Marius right up behind them in 4th place. Gerard, he's in 5th place with Dylan 6th. Ross is in 7th place with Torquay in 8th. Skoa Flick is in 9th place with Craig 10th, Dup 11th, Ronaldo 12th, Jason in 13th place, Jacques Vermeulen in 14th, and Hamid in 15th position. Jake's getting a right up behind the rear of the silverback driver coming out of turn number 2. We'll have a look on the inside for turn 3. He has a little show of the nose, but not close enough to actually make an attack. Up to the highest point of this track, turn and number 4. They start sweeping down towards turn 5. Seems that Scholl might have got a slowdown, because he seems to have slowed down quite a bit. That's allowed this battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th to get right up behind Scholl. There's still a little glitch in Scholl's car there. So now the battle for the top spot has just become a 4-way battle. Scholl, Bruno, Jakes, Marius. That back marker, if I'm not mistaken, that is Jason, the privateer. So far he is not impacting these drivers in any way, but Bruno is now right up the back of Scholl. Back down the hill, turn number 5. These guys should catch up to Jason by the time they get to the start-finish line. Bruno looking to go around the outside. He tucks right up behind Scholl as they go into the last corner. Bruno making a move to go around the outside of Scholl, preparing for turn number 1. Bruno just tucks back behind Scholl into turn 1. Jason now moves to the outside, allowing this battle to continue. Great work there from that back marker. They're now catching up to Hamid. He too just moves to the outside, allowing the battle to continue. Morris seems to have just lost a little bit of the way through that battle. I'm not sure whether it was just a little bit of the traffic that upset his flow there. I did miss the action. I'm not sure what happened there, but here in shot is Craig, Dylan and Gerard are once again battling it out, but they are down in 8th, 9th and 10th respectively. Oh, big power slide there for Gerard into turn 1. You just see that Dylan's car is still not as stable as it was earlier on in this race. He might have just picked up a little bit of damage. Well, Dylan's gone a very wide car understeering through turn number 2. Will Gerard be able to have a look? Well, that's Hamid just getting out of the way. Very well done there, sir. Dylan having to have 2 bites at the steering wheel to make sure he hits that apex. Side by side, Gerard and Dylan into turn 5. Gerard having to go the long way around, but makes that attack stick. Dylan now down into 9th place and Gerard moves up into 8th. But Dylan is still fighting back. He moves to the inside, takes the position back from Gerard going through turn number 8. Into the last corner, turn number 9. In the back there, that is a Duppy. He is now chasing Gerard. And Dylan now has his sights set on the Project Cat Racing driver. Oh, big power slide left and right for Dylan into turn 1. Duppy's not letting Gerard go. But both Duppy and Gerard are a little bit wide. Duppy touches the grass. Back up the hill through turn 3. Dylan trying to go around the outside of turn number 4. Will he tighten up here for turn 5 and try the cutback? Dylan tightens his line, tucks in right behind Ross. Let's bring up the current positions. Lap number 14. Shaw leads with Jakes in 2nd, so he's got himself around Bruno, but you can see Bruno is 0.1 behind him. Bruno is 3rd. Well, Dylan has a look on the inside here in the last corner. I thought they were going to touch, but Ross is now wide. That means that Dylan will have the run on him coming down the main start-finish line. Dylan tucks up behind him. Dylan decides to go for the wider outside line. Well, a little contact between Gerard and Dylan as Dylan's rear gets a little bit loose. Just needed to go back and have a look here. We saw Gerard going off into turn number 2. We see Dylan goes into a bit of a slide, and that for some reason kicks Gerard straight off the track, and that's a pure example of a lag bubble. Very, very unfortunate in online racing. Charles leads with Jake 2nd. Bruno, he's in 3rd place. We have just about 2 laps to go of this race. Hamid getting out of the way once again just to allow these guys to come past without hindering their performance. That is a 5th place driver, Torquay. Just behind him he has his teammate Skoeflich. The Sim Stuff Racing drivers are in 5th and 6th respectively. They've definitely shown that they've come out to race. Great effort by these 2 drivers. The battles continue further down the field. Dylan trying to get himself around the Scottish International for Project Cat Racing. Will Dylan have a look on the inside for turn 3? No, decides to go wider. Whoa, big slide there for Dylan, but he's kept that power on. Then back down the hill into turn 5. Ross goes deep. Dylan, too much brakes. Now bouncing that car all over the place. That sends him off. Dylan really fighting hard to try and get that place back, but unfortunately all he did is just drop himself further down the field. In shot, the race leader, he'll cross the start finish line for the last time. Charles, he will win with Jakes in second, Bruno in third place, Marius is fourth. That is Toki, a well-deserved fifth place, with Skoveflech in sixth. Craig, he's a respectable seventh with Ross in eighth. Duppy, he will finish in ninth place with Dylan in 10th. That is Gerard down in 11th place with Jason in 12th. Jacques Racing in 13th place, Ronaldo in 14th, and Hamid down in 15th position. So a great close racing all around for the 20 minutes. Let's head to heat number 2. Race number 2, we look at the starting lineup. In 15th place is Jason, followed by Ronaldo in 14th, Hamid is 13th, Duppy 12th. Dylan, he's down in 11th place with Ross in 10th. He's behind his Project Cat teammate Jacques Vermeulen, he's in 9th place. We then have Gerard, he's in 8th with Skoveflech in 7th. Craig is 6th. Toki, he's in 5th place with Jakes in 4th. Marius is 3rd. Bruno, he's in 2nd place. And pole sitter once again is Charles. As we wait for the green lights. It is green lights and away we go. Toki got a great start off the line. Oh, a little bump into Craig there. The side by side. Well, there's 3 cars off there that look like Toki, Marius and Bruno. Gerard, he now goes wide. Charles leads with Bruno, then Ross, Gerard and Dylan. Just behind Dylan, that is Craig. So Gerard having a great start off the line. Ross, he was down in 9th place. He's now up into 3rd. Up into turn number 3. Charles leads. Then it is Bruno. That is Hamid. He unfortunately having gone off. Single foul action down the hill through turn 5. Had a big sideways. Craig, he too is sideways. Long train of drivers. Dylan, Gerard, Craig. That's Jacques, Duppy, Hamid, and in shot is Jason. There's Jakes in the background. He's starting to make his way back, and Ronaldo. Well, drivers going in for some pits. Couldn't quite make out who that was, but if you bring up the timings, we can see that it is Marius. He's gone into the pits. It is Craig that's gone into the pits, as well as Toki. Well, Jakes, big sideways action, touching the grass. Going into turn number 1, he has unfortunately put himself off. Jump up the field again. Going past that was Ross, then Dylan, Jacques Vermeulen, and then it is Duppy. Down the hill, out of turn 4, part of this tricky braking zone into turn number 5. Jacques Vermeulen's a little bit wide. You see Charles starting to pull a gap away from Marius, and Marius pulling a gap away from Ross. Exiting out of the last corner, it is Duppy, Hamid and Gerard. Cross the line to begin lap number 3. Gerard takes the inside. Well, Gerard gets it a little bit sideways. He manages to grab it. No, he doesn't. Unfortunately, he spun him around. Oh no! That looked looked as if it was Jason. Yes, that's Jason dropping down. Fortunately, not able to get out the way. Very unfortunate. We see the cars are starting to gather once again. There's a Gerard here. Unfortunately, he was hit by Jason. There's a battle once again. Morris moving to the inside here, turn number 4. They're going to go side by side down the hill. Oh, little contact there. Morris here, unfortunately, it goes off. Toki rejoining the track. But that was Jakes. He has unfortunately collected Jakes as he rejoined the track. There we can see Toki coming back on and Jakes in the background. The second of the Some Stuff Racing drivers, Skoa Flick, he's put himself firmly between Hamid and Duppy. Out of turn number 2, and Jacques has got a good drive on Dylan. He's moved to the inside. Little squeeze of Dylan, so Dylan had to allow that place to go past. Jacques now moves himself right up behind his teammate. The two Project Cat drivers are currently in 3rd and 4th place, with Dylan down in 5th. You can see the two different lines these drivers have taken coming through turn number 5. Jacques taking a much wider where Dylan is a lot tighter up against the apex. Little touch of the brakes, get the nose turned in, but that's allowed Dylan to close up this gap. Will he be able to tuck in behind him and get a slipstream down the start finish line? Dylan moving to the outside as they look to turn in. Dylan is right behind Jacques. Will you look to the inside here? Turn 2. Too far away, but Dylan tightens up his line to try and take the shorter route. Very close racing between these two. It was at this point where Jacques managed to get his position from Dylan. Turn 4 down the hill into this tricky braking zone here. Turn number 5. Well, Dylan has gone wide himself. Seems Jacques got a much better drive coming out of turn 5 and over the little apex of turn number 6. Dylan's very wide, but he manages to hang on there and fortunately does not go off the track. This is the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th place. Duppy has managed to close the gap here on Skoa Flick, the Some Stuff Racing driver. Duppy riding for TTR. Unfortunately, his teammate in the second lobby, so does not have the advantage of having a teammate with him. We can just bring up the current positions while we keep the action going. Shaw leads with Bruno in 2nd. Project Cats drivers Ross and Jacques are in 3rd and 4th. Dylan, he's in 5th with Hamid in 6th place. Skoa Flick in shot is in 7th with Duppy 8th. Craig is down in 9th place with Marius, he's in 10th. Jakes is 11th. Gerard, he's in 12th place with Toki in 13th place. Jason, he's in 14th, and unfortunately we lose Ronaldo through to a disconnect. Seems that Skoa Flick has got some of his rhythm back and he's just opened that gap a little bit away from Duppy, and now he's closing up the gap with the driver in front of him, Hamid, for the Cape Town boys. Hamid has been driving for the Cape Town boys. by himself this season. Unfortunately, his teammate in crime, Ash, he's been having some internet problems and has not been able to join us this season, but we're really looking forward to seeing him in the next one. So Dylan is still very much on the chase of Project Cat's driver Jacques. Jacques going very wide there, not sure if he just misjudged his braking point. Similar lines for the two drivers. And remember, in the first race, it was on that corner where Dylan was trying to close down Ross. Dylan hitting the curb and losing control, and he unfortunately finishing 10th in that race. Dylan's a lot closer this time round, coming into the last corner. He'll suck up right behind Shark, a little bit of a power slide. Dylan moving to the outside as they turn in turn number 1. Oh no! It looks like Dylan has hit Shark. Just wanted to jump back. We can see the two drivers are side by side. They both start turning in. Lots of space, and it's at that point where Jacques just spins around and unfortunately is sending both the drivers off. Very, very, very unfortunate for both of them. So that unfortunately allows Hamid, Scoverflech and Duppy to go off, but Scoverflech has a little bit of a sideways action. I think he took too much of that curb. So that means that Jacques, he was circulating in a 4th place. He's now unfortunately dropped down 4 places. But I see that he's actually made his way around Scoverflech, so Jacques actually losing out 3 places in that little contact bubble with Dylan. In shot, a race leader Scholl coming through turn number 9. Just behind him, that is Bruno in 2nd place. Well, Scholl's gone a little bit sideways. He's now unfortunately gone off. That's allowed Bruno, he goes past. So Bruno, he's now the new leader for this race. Scholl, he's in 2nd with Ross in 3rd. Dylan is in 4th with Hamid in 5th. Duppy, he's in 7th place with Jacques Racing 7th. Scoverflech, he's in 8th with Marius in 9th place with Craig right behind him in 10th place. Jakes, he's 11th, closing that gap on Craig. Gerard, he's in 12th place with Toki in 13th and Jason in 14th position. We jump on board with our race leader Bruno here on lap number 10. He's just closing the gap down here on a back marker. That is Jason driving as a privateer. Bruno moves up to try and get a slipstream here into a 5th gear turn and number 2. So you drop down into 4th, then tighten up. Just make sure that you do not run wide there. Up into 5th gear, down 2 gears into 3rd, allowing the car just to rotate itself. Back on the power. Touch of the brakes, down a gear into 3rd, turn in, back on that power. So down the hill for turn number 5, down into 3rd gear. You can Bruno taking the wider line. You are able to take a much tighter one over the crest, turn 6. See Scholl just behind him. This is a turn number 8. You want to line up to that cone 1, cone 2. Those are your 2 apexes for this corner. Then on the dark stuff, gear down into 4th, turn in, straight back on the power, allow the cars to slide ever so slightly, down the main straight and approaching to cross the start finish line. Let's just bring up the current positions. Bruno leads with Scholl 2nd, Ross is 3rd, Dylan he's 4th, Hamid in 5th place with Duppy 6th, Jacques Vermeulen is 7th. That is Scoverflech, he's in 8th place with Craig in 9th, Marius he's 10th, Jakes he's down in 11th place. In 12th place we have Gerard with Jason in 13th and Toki down in 14th position. This is Hamid, the 5th place driver. We'll just pan around, and just behind him, that's the TTR driver, Duppy. Really putting on a great attack here. Whoa, that was extremely close between the two drivers. It's just swinging around the other way now. That is Jacques Vermeulen. He's starting to close up this gap on these two. Well, Hamid has gone wide. Jacques putting a lot of pressure on Duppy. Will he try go around the outside here, turn number 7? Jacques now able to get up on the inside. Side by side, Duppy and Jacques going into turn number 1. So Duppy wins the race to turn number 1. Jacques having to concede the position. A great fighting spirit there shown by the TTR driver. Unfortunately made a little mistake that allowed Jacques to take that place from him. For now, Duppy's gone very wide out of turn number 2. Jacques did see him coming, a little tap on the brakes just to allow Duppy to rejoin the track safely. Or Hamid, he's now gone off. Duppy's wide again. Oh no! Fortunately losing control as the car gripped, lost the rear. That then pushed him straight into Jacques. Jacques now rejoins the track ahead of Duppy. This is your battle for 1st and 2nd place. Bruno, he still leads with Charles in 2nd, having closed down this gap slightly. See Bruno moving out of the way so Charles does not get the advantage of that slipstream down the start-finish straight. Into turn 1, Charles is very sideways, but that definitely is cool for the camera. Not cool when you're inside the cockpit and that car is going sideways. But this is definitely the action we want to be seeing so late on in this race. Charles now following every single move from Bruno, just waiting for that mistake. Charles a lot tighter through turn 4. Charles sliding down into turn number 5, but that's going to allow Bruno to get away with a little bit extra traction coming out of the corner. Into turn number 8. Just a double apex corner. Then down into the last corner. So Charles not able to make a final corner attack. Bruno will cross the line as the winner here for race number 2. Charles will come home in 2nd. Ross will finish 3rd with Dylan in 4th place. Hamid a very respectable 5th with Skoverflich in 6th. Jacques Vermeulen a disappointing 7th place off the contact through lag with Dylan. Duppy finishes in 8th place with Craig in 9th. Marius he's in 10th place with Jakes in 11th. Gerard he finishes 12th with Jason in 13th place. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification button and you'll be notified of any live streams or replays that have been put up. If you'd like to find out more, please visit our website to find out what we are racing and when we're racing. Visit our Facebook page and you can get involved with our social chatter. This season is proudly brought to you by Thrustmaster and Mettlestate. And until we go racing again in 2 weeks' time, thanks for watching, yos.